Why smart people struggle with simple decisions. You are standing in front of the fridge at 11 at night, door open, cold air spilling onto your shins, and you cannot decide what to eat. Not because there is nothing there. There are 4 options, maybe 5. You have already ranked them, unranked them, and started ranking them again. Somewhere in your head, a tiny committee is arguing about calories, mood, convenience, and whether leftovers count as a real meal. The fridge door is still open. It has been open for 90 seconds. You are not hungry anymore. You are just tired. That moment has a name. Psychologists call it decision paralysis. And if you have ever spent 20 minutes picking a show to watch and then been too drained to watch anything, you already know it intimately. Here is the strange part. This is not a flaw that shows up more in people who struggle to think clearly. It shows up more in people who think exceptionally well. The sharper your mind, the more likely you are to freeze over a sandwich. You are not the only one. This happens to some of the most capable people walking around today. And it is not because they are broken or lazy or indecisive by nature. But here is what almost nobody tells you. The very thing that makes you good at solving hard problems is the same thing that makes easy problems feel impossible. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your intelligence turns simple choices into small wars. And you will walk away with a way to make decisions that does not require you to outthink yourself every single time. Let's start with what is actually happening inside your head, because it is not weakness, it is architecture. Picture a highway with 1 lane. Traffic moves. It is boring, maybe a little slow, but it moves. Now picture that same highway with 15 lanes merging into 1 exit. Every car has somewhere to go. Every car has a reason to be there. But the sheer number of lanes converging at once creates a jam that a single lane never would. A less capable mind runs on fewer lanes. It sees 2 or 3 options and picks one. A highly capable mind builds extra lanes automatically. It sees the option, and then the exception to the option, and then the exception to the exception. More lanes, more merging, more gridlock. This is called cognitive load, and it is not about how much you know. It is about how many threads your mind insists on running before it lets you move. A less capable engine idles quietly. A more capable one revs even when the car isn't going anywhere, simply because it has more cylinders available to fire. Give yourself a second. Think about the last easy decision that took you way too long. It probably wasn't easy at all. It was 15 lanes disguised as 1. Here's the part that stings a little. You've called yourself indecisive. You've apologized for it at restaurants, in group chats, on dates. Ask yourself something. Is it really indecision, or is it your mind refusing to shut any door before it's absolutely sure? Because a mind that generates 15 possible outcomes for a lunch order is not lazy. It is working overtime, and nobody clapped for it. Once you see that mechanism, something changes. You stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "How many lanes did I just build for a decision that needed one?" That shift alone will save you minutes of your life back, one paused moment at a time. Still, cognitive load is only half of it. Because building the lanes is one thing. What happens once all those lanes hit a red light is another problem entirely. There's a version of you that got praised early for having the right answer. Maybe it was a teacher, a parent, a room full of adults who lit up when you said something clever. That praise felt good. It felt like proof. And somewhere along the way, being right stopped being a nice bonus and became part of who you are. Here's the mechanism behind that. When correctness gets tied to identity instead of outcome, every decision stops being a decision and starts being a referendum on your worth. Ordering the wrong entree isn't just picking the wrong entree anymore. It's evidence. Evidence that maybe you're not as sharp as everyone thinks. Your brain, trying to protect you, keeps the choice open indefinitely, because an unmade decision can never be wrong. An unopened envelope can't disappoint you. Think of it like a scale that's been rigged since childhood. On one side sits being correct. On the other sits being seen as capable. Every decision gets weighed on that scale before you even notice it's happening, and a scale that sensitive takes forever to settle, even over something as small as which route to drive home. You know the voice, the one that says, quietly, "Don't commit yet. What if there's a better option you haven't thought of?" That voice isn't caution, it's the scale, still swinging. Here's the mini payoff, and it's a big one. Once you stop treating small decisions as referendums on your intelligence, you free up enormous amounts of energy that used to go toward defending an identity nobody was actually attacking. But none of this matters yet, because knowing where the pressure comes from doesn't automatically release it. For that, you need to see what this pattern costs you when the stakes go up. because so far we've been talking about lunch orders and fridge doors, small stuff. The real damage shows up somewhere much closer to your actual life. Think about a relationship where you kept running the numbers, weighing the good against the bad, building a mental spreadsheet with more rows every week, waiting for the math to become obvious before you'd let yourself commit or let yourself leave. Smart minds do this in love more than almost anywhere else, because love refuses to resolve into a clean equation, and a mind built for clean equations will keep working the problem long after the problem has stopped being solvable on paper. Here's the mechanism. Certainty is a feeling, not a fact. It's less like a locked door and more like a plant. You don't wait for it to fully bloom before you water it. The watering is what makes it bloom in the first place. Waiting for total certainty before committing to a person, a move, a career pivot, is like refusing to water a plant until it's already flowering. It never gets there on its own. Picture someone you know, or maybe it's you, who stayed a year longer than they should have in something that wasn't working, simply because they hadn't found the flaw in their own logic yet. Not because they didn't see the problems. They saw all of them. They just hadn't built an airtight enough case to act on what they already knew. Here's a blunt one. Overthinking isn't caution, it's just fear, wearing a lab coat. Once you understand that certainty is grown through action, instead of found through analysis, you stop needing permission from your own brain before you're allowed to move. This shows up in smaller rooms too, not just relationships. Think about a group dinner where everyone's deciding where to eat. You have an opinion. You always have an opinion, that's not the issue. But you also have 4 reasons the group might not like your pick, 2 reasons your pick might not age well by the time you arrive, and 1 nagging thought that maybe you're overriding someone else's preference without meaning to. So you say, "I'm fine with whatever," and you mean it. Technically, the way a dam means it when it's holding back a river. Here's the mechanism behind that particular silence. A mind that can model many outcomes at once doesn't just model food preferences, it models the social cost of being wrong in front of people, in real time, faster than you can consciously track. That's not indecision either. That's a live simulation running so quickly it looks, from the outside, like you simply don't have a preference. You do. It's just buried under 6 seconds of instant risk assessment. Here's a question worth sitting with. How many rooms have you gone quiet in? Not because you had nothing to offer, but because your mind priced out the risk of offering it before your mouth even opened. Still, even this understanding won't save you from the biggest cost of all, the one that doesn't show up in a single moment, but adds up quietly, year after year, until it becomes the shape of an entire life. Because here's what nobody warns you about smart people specifically. The years lost to almost decisions don't announce themselves. There's no single dramatic collapse. There's just a slow accumulation of doors that stayed unopened because you were still gathering information, still waiting for the spreadsheet to resolve, still convinced that one more round of analysis would finally deliver the clean answer that would make the choice obvious and safe. Here's the mechanism behind that particular kind of regret. Your mind is excellent at simulating outcomes. It can run 100 versions of a future in seconds. But simulation feels like progress even when it isn't. Running the numbers on a move you never make feels productive in the moment, the same way spinning your wheels on ice feels like driving. There's noise, there's effort, there's even heat. There's no distance covered. Imagine 2 people at the edge of the same opportunity. One takes an imperfect step forward and adjusts as new information arrives. The other keeps refining the plan until the plan is flawless. And by the time it's flawless, the opportunity has moved on without them. The first person collects data through living. The second person collects data through imagining. And imagining, unlike living, never actually runs out of new angles to consider. Ask yourself honestly, what decision have you been still thinking about for longer than it would have taken to just try it and find out? The mini payoff here is uncomfortable, but freeing. Most of what you've been calling careful thinking was actually spinning wheels on ice, and the moment you see that clearly, you can finally choose traction over noise. But seeing the problem isn't the same as fixing it, and this is exactly where most people stop, understanding the trap perfectly while still standing inside it. So here's the tool, and it's simpler than anything your mind has been building toward. It's called satisficing, a term some researchers use for choosing the first option that's genuinely good enough instead of hunting for the mathematically best one. Not settling. Sufficient plus satisfying. The idea is to set a bar in advance, before the 15 lanes start merging, and the moment an option clears that bar, you take it, and stop shopping for a better one that may not even exist. Picture a bar you set at ankle height for anything reversible. What to eat. which route to take, which show to watch tonight. The instant an option clears that ankle-height bar, you're done deciding. No more lanes. For anything higher stakes and harder to reverse, you can still raise the bar, but even then, give yourself a deadline. A real one, with a date attached, because an open-ended decision is a decision your mind will use every ounce of intelligence to keep open forever. Here's the fragment you can keep. Good enough, on time, beats perfect, too late. Try this tonight. Pick one small decision, anyone, and give yourself 60 seconds. When the 60 seconds end, you act on whatever option is currently in the lead. No further deliberation allowed. That's it. That's the whole practice. It feels almost insultingly simple. And that's exactly the point, because your mind has spent years convincing you that simple decisions require sophisticated processing. They don't. They require a deadline and permission. You can build this into bigger decisions too, once the small ones stop draining you. Write down, in advance, what good enough would actually look like for the decision in front of you. Not perfect, not optimal. Just the specific, concrete line that, once crossed, means you're allowed to stop searching. Most people skip this step entirely. They go hunting for the best option with no defined finish line, which means the search can never technically end, because there's always one more possibility they haven't checked. A search without a finish line isn't a search, it's a treadmill. Set the line first, then let any option that clears it win, even if a theoretically better one might exist somewhere you haven't looked. The version of you that keeps looking anyway isn't being thorough, it's just refusing to let the treadmill stop. Here's the thing though. Even with a perfect system, you'll still catch yourself standing at the fridge some nights, still feel that old scale start swinging when something matters to you. That doesn't mean the tool failed. It means you're human. And being aware of the pattern is not the same as being immune to it. And that's fine. Because here's the real reframe, the one underneath all the tactics. Your mind was never broken for taking 20 minutes to pick a show. It was doing exactly what it was built to do. Generating options, weighing outcomes, protecting an identity built on being right. The problem was never your intelligence. The problem was letting your intelligence run unsupervised on decisions that never needed it in the first place. You get to be someone different now. Not someone who has all the answers before they move, because nobody ever has that, not really. Someone who understands that certainty is grown, not found. Someone who can let a 15-lane highway collapse back down to one, on purpose, whenever the stakes don't call for all that traffic. You are not indecisive. You were never indecisive. You were a mind built for complexity, finally learning when complexity is actually needed, and when it's just noise, wearing the costume of care. Every future fridge door, every group dinner, every fork in a road that actually matters, is a chance to practice the same small skill, naming the bar, crossing it, and moving on with the rest of your life intact. That's not a lesser way to think. It's what thinking well was always supposed to look like, before it got confused with thinking forever. Close the fridge door, pick the sandwich. You already know which one you wanted.